Golden Black Radio is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store. Shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Lafayette location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Welcome into another edition of Gold and Black Radio, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm your host, Derek Schultz. Purdue coming off their first bye of the season, getting to sit back and relax during what was a really entertaining and super nail-biting weekend of Big Ten football. If you think about what happened in Happy Valley, what happened over in Iowa City as well, USC and Illinois, Purdue's last 2 opponents played a real barn burner as well, and Purdue got to kind of sit back and stay out of the fray as it comes to that. They get another rivalry game, as I mentioned, this week against Illinois, who just bounced back from their shellacking from Indiana to survive the Trojans. We'll talk Illini and where the Boilers sit at the quarter pole of the season with Tom Dienhart and Dub Jellison here in just a few minutes. But first, a thank you to our terrific Gold and Black Radio sponsors that make this show possible, including our friends at Purdue Federal Credit Union, a proud partner of Purdue Athletics and the official credit card for Purdue fans. Boiler Up, East End Grill and Ripple and Company, 2 distinctive bistros across the street from one another on the far end of Main Street, the perfect place for your next event. The Whitaker Inn, this Midwestern oasis, is perfect for relaxing staycation or weekend getaway. Escape from the ordinary at the Whitaker Inn. Sand Valley Resort, ready for a winter getaway? Discover the stillness and beauty of Sand Valley. Our stunning 12,000-acre landscape is the perfect place to explore, whether you're cross-country skiing, enjoying a quiet walk, or just relaxing by the fire. With thoughtfully designed accommodations and nourishing dining, Sand Valley is the place to reconnect with yourself and those you love. Find your winter retreat at sandvalley.com. And last but certainly not least, Purdue Institute for Cancer Research. The Purdue Institute for Cancer Research has a history of innovation and one goal for the future: defeat cancer. Purdue brings together world-class Boilermaker scientists from across the university, conducting cutting-edge research that uncovers new ways to prevent, diagnose, and treat cancer. With your support, cancer research saves lives. Join the fight and donate to the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research today. GoldandBlack.com football writers Tom Dienhart and Dub Jellison join us now on this edition of Gold and Black Radio. And boys, welcome back from the bye week. Tom, with the way the portal stuff is, and like you never really got a break. And I know Dub, you came onto the team a little bit late here. Does the bye qualify? Like, do you take 36 hours where you just kind of hang out?
Yeah, it's a nice little respite of sorts, right, Derek? I think it's a good point for Purdue too. You talked about the quarter pole and get to play 4 games, sort of reset, evaluate yourself on all phases of the ball game, see where you stand, what are you doing well, what needs work. So, yeah, we talked to the staff today, Odom and the coordinators and a couple players, and a lot of that type of self-evaluation, obviously, as you would expect, went on. And they hope to apply some of their lessons moving forward, Derek, to an October schedule that I think we all can agree is kind of favorable. And a chance for Purdue to make some hay maybe here. Illinois, at Minnesota, at Northwestern, then Rutgers for home. So, Derek, could Purdue go 2-2 or 3-1 in October?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Everybody had this month circled, right, Dub? And I do think it's interesting, as Tom says, not only with this aligning with this portion of the schedule, but also the fact that, Purdue didn't leave the state of Indiana in the last 2 games. Those were 2 long afternoons because of the weather, right? I mean, you had basically a 9-hour game day against USC, followed by what turned into a 6-7 hour game day with the drive as well, not even included, to and from South Bend. So, it feels like this is the perfect time for Purdue to kind of catch his breath and get back to basics and really kind of, hit this big stretch here, which I think we would all agree is a season-defining stretch for the Boilers.
Oh, absolutely. Even though Illinois, I think they're in the upper echelon of the Big Ten, maybe not in the same class as the Ohio States and Oregons and Penn States, right? But I think maybe that second tier. I think this is a game that Purdue can compete in and potentially win. They've played well historically against the Illini, won 8 of the last 10, obviously dropping the one last year. Ryan Brown's got some familiarity with the Illini, enjoyed his breakout game last year. So, first and foremost, getting through this game, it's a tall task because I'm really high on this Illinois team. And then beyond that, I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park, obviously. I think Minnesota is still really good despite their loss to Cal. They came back and beat Rutgers over the weekend. And then you got Northwestern and Rutgers. And I think Rutgers can be a bowl team. I'm not ready to put them at the bottom of the Big Ten. Obviously, we've seen Northwestern kind of struggle out of the gates too. But I think the key for Purdue, and it's not just this year, I think it's every year, is just beating the teams that you're supposed to beat, beating the teams that are within your tier in the conference, and maybe getting an upset or two along the way. So that's what Purdue's going to have to do. I think if they could go 3-1 and head into the gauntlet that is November, one win away from bowl eligibility, I think that'd be a massive win for them.
Yeah, and even, Tom, beating the teams they're supposed to beat, that's hard to say, right, for a team that was picked last in the Big Ten. But the way that I look at it is there were a couple of coin flip games or close to coin flip games in here, like 55-45 type games. I wouldn't put Illinois in that category, but I would put Minnesota and Rutgers and Northwestern in that category to varying degrees. And it's just, I think for Purdue, it's sort of about, okay, let's flip that coin and let's hope that it comes up heads at least twice, right? Is that where you put the bar?
Yeah, I think so. To do that, Derek, I think we know some of the areas Purdue needs to clean up. I think the biggest on offense is the ability to run the football. They need more consistency there, guys. I was looking at the numbers in the Big Ten. They're last in the conference in average yards per carry, 3.1. I think overall rushing yards per game, they're like 17 out of 18. So there you go. The longest run this year, Ryan Brown, 26 yards. It's the only run over 20 yards so far. So, we asked Barry Odom about that today, and it's not just on the offensive line. It's on everybody, the tight ends, the wide receivers, the running backs too, right? He mentioned them. So collectively, they all have to step up. We all know it begins up front, and we'll see if they're any better there. I don't anticipate any changes, guys. I think we're going to see the same 5 guys line up to start Saturday that we've seen all year up front. Now, defensively, right, where do you start? The run defense has been very good, but I think the pass defense is one area that you have a lot to prove there. Right off the bat, guys, first play for Notre Dame last week or 2 weeks ago, 66-yard touchdown pass.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, as you guys know, the best pass defense is a pass rush. And that's where it probably has to start. That if they need to dial up more blitzes, they have to take chances. They can't let these quarterbacks sit back there. This kid this week, Luke Altmaier, we all know, one of the best in the conference. So we'll see if they have anything new designed this week to maybe try to confuse Altmaier and get after him a little bit.
Dub, how confident are you in this team's ability just overall to grow and improve from here? Because I think they've already shown through the first 4 games that they've certainly raised the floor, which may not be saying much, but I'm just genuinely curious as to how they're going to build upon some of these positives that we've seen in the first 4 games.
I think that the coaching level is leaps and bounds better from last year. And I think that we're going to see progression out of individual guys. Now, how they mess that all together and put it all together, that kind of remains to be seen. But I think that, we've seen that they've been able to make adjustments in the Southern Illinois game. I think defensively in the USC game, obviously last week, it was kind of a wash. Notre Dame just got out to a big lead and they weren't going to let up. But I think Purdue's kind of shown the ability to make adjustments and they've already shown progression from last year. I think this is a much more competitive team. And I think, I've kind of driven myself crazy saying it over and over and over again as we've done these podcasts. But I feel like remaining competitive against teams you're not supposed to beat is the biggest key for them. And I think coming off the Notre Dame game, this is a good opportunity for them to do that, if not win.
Tom, you wrote about during the bye week some of Purdue's surprise players, and I think we had mentioned at least 3 or 4 on this show, including obviously Ryan Brown. But I think the one exception there might have been Charles Correa. And here's a kid. There's a long history. These Hawaiian kids, the kids at Bishop Gorman, where he played high school ball, is a national powerhouse as well, and he's really brought not only a toughness but a leadership to the table. And we're talking about a true sophomore here. Like, this is a guy playing his second year of college football. What have you seen from him that you've really liked in that room?
Yeah, Dub did a story with him, I think last week as well, and
yeah,
just I always like the phrase, he plays like his hair is on fire. Maybe it's because I have no hair, but to me, that's great imagery. It sort of embodies the style of play a guy like Correa has, right? Knows that one speed, plays the echo of the whistle, to use some more scout jargon, and passionate. We've talked to him a few times after practices. You talked about his history there a little bit. Derek grew up on the islands. Family moved to Las Vegas, I think, for his junior year of high school specifically to play at Bishop Gorman High. Of course, that's where he got to know the Odoms from getting recruited, then signed with the Rebels, who played there last year as a true freshman. So, yeah, special guy, man. Every bit is 6'3". He's chiseled up. He'll get bigger, probably weighs 230 now, but again, it's that speed and that passion and that instincts. And him and Manny Powell, guys, I tell you what, there's no question. That's the strength of the defense. Alex Sanford's pretty salty too. That's the strength. Powell and Correa are anchors there. If they can get everybody else to elevate their games, the defense has a chance maybe to be a little bit more salty here the last 2 months.
Dub, how important is it to have that sort of leadership, especially considering that essentially all of these, outside of maybe Devin Mockabee, all these roles were really up for grabs, right? Because the roster turned all the way over. So you needed people to Barry Odom and this staff needed people to come up and step up to the plate, and clearly Correa and some of these others have.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things in terms of team cohesion. I think going into the spring, Tom and I were both like, we don't know what this team's going to look like. And even going into the fall, we didn't know what they were going to look like. Yeah. They added 20 some odd transfer guys in the spring window too. But so aside from that, obviously on the field and what they're going to look like, I think the biggest thing is getting guys that can be leaders. I think that's something that Barry Odom, I spoke to him in the winter, and that's something that he kind of talked about in terms of going after portal guys and getting character guys that can lead this defense and the team as a whole, right? But I think, as far as Correa goes, I think the thing that stands out about him and just talking to him is I know he's not one of the captains, one of the 8 captains, but he sure feels like one, just in the way that he talks, in the way that he plays, his passion. I think he's a guy that he's going to step into an even bigger leadership role next year when Manny Powell's off to the league or doing whatever he does after graduation. But I think getting a lot of veteran guys that have kind of been there, done that. You've seen it on both sides of the ball. Jalen St. John, Michael Jackson, Tony Grimes, Crew Wakely. You got a lot of veterans that have played a lot of football. And I think that's really key for a team was completely revamped, a roster that was completely revamped this offseason.
Tom, this is a rivalry that goes back years and years and years, even though obviously no Purdue fan would put it on the level of IU. I don't even think most would put it on the level of Notre Dame, talking about football, but they play for that little baby toy cannon, kind of the saddest looking trophy in college football, isn't it? Where you have keg of nails and all these, really, really cool Paul Bunyan's axe, and then Purdue and Illinois, pew, pew, play for this little cannon. But that said, it's been a really fun rivalry in the sense that I think you've gone into this game thinking that somebody was going to win easily. And oftentimes, not only has it been close like last year's game, but weird stuff has happened during here as well. And it's a rivalry that Purdue largely has had the upper hand in. They've won 15 of 20 against Illinois. But, kind of hearkening back to last year's game, you thought you had this game figured out. And clearly we had no idea what was about to come in Champaign. One of the weirdest afternoons probably of the last 10 seasons for Purdue football in a game that they should have won.
Yeah, I always like the old brass spittoon, Derek Schultz.
Yes, that's his cool one too. Kind of gross, but cool.
And you don't know. And like you said, last year certainly was. Who saw that coming? The storylines, right? There were I heard some murmurs late during that week that Ryan Walters was going to call plays, and I said, "What?" And I got it confirmed in the press box before the game. So Ryan Walters calls plays. And of course, he knows the Illinois defense too. So, and you know what? Josh Henson, he kind of talked about that a little bit. Someone asked him about last year's game. Well, I watched the film, and he kind of talked about, I think the guy calling plays had intimate knowledge of that defense last year, knew what to do. It was kind of a fun little exchange they had there during the presser. But who knows what's going to happen? And these rivals are only 90 miles apart. It's a short drive Purdue's closest geographic rival. Everybody loves trekking I-74, Derek, and stopping at the Beef House in Covington too, right? So it's a fun, easy trip. Two schools that are a lot alike, right? Giant land-grant schools, great engineering schools. Two pretty evenly matched programs, football and basketball-wise too. So there's a lot there. And yeah, boy, year to year, who's going to get this one? But like you said, Purdue's really had the upper hand of late, 15-20. And Brett Bielema was 1-3 at Illinois against Purdue. So, these two coaches, I asked Odom, he's a buddy of Brett Bielema's. They're pretty close, so there's some familiarity here as well. So it's going to be a fun game. You kind of wonder, guys, how the dynamic would be if Illinois is coming off another loss coming to West Lafayette. And USC won that game last week. Of course, they won. Now Purdue's had 2 weeks. And one last thing real quick, guys, is this a trap game for Illinois. Next week in Champaign, they get to play the mighty Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, you have to wonder. I mean, a lot's still on the table here for Illinois. I think you knew that they were a better team than what they showed in Bloomington. I think Brian Newbert said they stepped on the hornet's nest, and boy, they got stung pretty bad down there in Bloomington with that 53-point loss. But, coming back the way that they did to kind of look like they were in the process of blowing the game, only to come back and win it, I think said a lot about, kind of where they are and Brett Bielema and how he's been steering that program. So, I have a lot of respect for Illinois, and I still think I agree with Dub that it's one of those upper echelon Big Ten teams. But Dub, wanted to fit this in because, we're coming off a bye week and we rarely get to talk about recruiting during the Friday show or when we're in it and we're recapping one game and then we're previewing the next. But you had a write-up about the 26 class a few days ago at goldenblack.com, and the calendar turning to October now. We're just 2 months away from National Signing Day, which will be here before you know it. How do you feel about where that group, I think we're talking about almost 20 players, if I'm not mistaken, for Barry Odom and where that class currently stands?
Yeah, they're sitting at 19. I think they have a good nucleus right now. Obviously, they're going to try to flip some guys. It's flip season right now. I don't know if you pay attention to Twitter, but there's guys flipping left and right. It's kind of crazy. Purdue hasn't had any of those yet on either side, right? Both coming or going. But, they still got some 26 guys out there. Brody Smith is a big priority for them, offensive lineman from Tennessee. He's said to be down between Purdue and North Carolina State, and they're kind of battling to the end. I'd kind of give the edge to the Wolfpack, but I think Purdue could come back and keep things close for right now, and I wouldn't rule them out of that running. I think another guy to watch is J.J. Finch, 4-star defensive lineman from Warren Central. He's a guy that committed to Alabama, took an official to Purdue over the summer. I would consider him a soft commit to Alabama right now. He's kind of sniffing around, seeing what other programs could take him. And Barry Odom was set to be at Warren Central on Friday to catch his game. So we'll see where Purdue stands with that. I think that's going to come down to dollar signs with Finch. And I think that Purdue could probably match his asking price. It's just a matter of how much and what he wants to do. But the main positions I think they need to fill is offensive line, defensive line, just one across those, and then defensive back. They've shown interest in 4 guys since the end of official visits. Never really, I don't think they were sold on any of the 4. And kind of slowed their roll on each of them. So maybe possibly a JUCO guy coming into the fold later in the cycle. And then wide receiver, you got 2 former UCLA commits, Santana Carlos and Xavier Stinson. I think Carlos is a guy that is really high on Purdue, and I expect him to visit at some point this fall. I don't think there's been a date set for that yet, but I think both of those guys are real priorities and real possibilities for Purdue to round out that receiving core.
Meet his asking price, Tom. You ever think we'd be in a world where we'd be discussing if Purdue's going to meet somebody's asking price?
Out loud.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Those conversations are meant for behind closed doors. Wink, wink, right? Let's send Derek Schultz out with the $100 handshakes, I think. But yeah, I know. What
get it done.
Where we living, right?
It's pretty wild. But then again, I mean, we're doing a show through our computers right now, so maybe you couldn't have expected that either with as long as you've been on the college football beat. But
it's like Star Trek.
That's right. After a week off, we'll be back on Friday. Another edition of Gold and Black Radio. We'll get the entire band back together to get you set for the Illini. In the meantime, the absolute best Purdue coverage can be found right here at goldenblack.com and on social media, so follow along. Tom, Dub, for all the latest and greatest when it comes to the Boilers. Fellas, we'll do it again on Friday. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
That's Tom Dienart and Dub Jellison. And that is our show, this Tuesday edition of Gold and Black Radio. Thanks again to our presenting sponsor, Academy Sports and Outdoors, as well as Purdue Federal Credit Union, the official credit card for Purdue fans. East End Grill and Ripple and Company, two distinctive bistros across the street from one another on the far end of Main Street in Lafayette. The Whitaker Inn for unparalleled comfort and cuisine. Visit the Whitaker Inn. Sand Valley Resort with thoughtfully designed accommodations and nourishing dining. Sand Valley is the place to reconnect with yourself and those who you love. Find your winter retreat at sandvalley.com. And the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research, which has a history of innovation and one goal for the future: defeat cancer. Join the fight and donate to the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research today. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And, of course, you can leave a positive review on whatever podcast platform you're utilizing, or on your YouTube channel. You could do that, too. Also, if you haven't already, you'll want to subscribe to goldenblack.com's channel on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and enable alerts as new highlights and videos are uploaded regularly. And if you're not already, please become a member at goldenblack.com. Knucklehead Central, Tom's work, Dub on the recruiting end. Brian does a little bit of everything, including the columns, and everything and anything that we have for you. goldenblack.com is the best place for Purdue football and men's basketball coverage. But until the Friday night show, I'm Derek Schultz. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time right here on Gold and Black Radio. As you all know by now, Gold and Black Radio has also teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet. Offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 and over only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that can expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.